Everybody, welcome back to another House Talks. Today, we have Corbin Chivers, one of the OGs of Stonehaus Realty, one of the biggest agents in the Fraser Valley, especially in the Langley area. If you haven't seen his face in Langley, you probably just moved there. Or you're blind, one or the other. Anyways, thanks for joining us today, Corbin. I really appreciate you showing up. It's early for you. I know you're a 4 a.m., 5 a.m. go to bed. Actually, a small story before we start. So Corbin and I are the only people that talk to each other at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning because I wake up that time and that's the time he goes to bed.
This is true.
Thanks for coming, brother. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's hear your history on real estate.
Well, for real estate, I've been in the business now. It's my 11th year. So I started in Langley. That's where I live. So I've been in the business 11 years. Sold about 850 homes now in my career. So it's been a long career. And I started off by myself. I started off on a team with my best friend, Chris. And I joined his team in 2014. That was an awesome experience. Recommended for anybody getting into real estate, start on a team. So I got to join him and join his very successful team. We did about 265 deals when I was on the team. Wow. And I got to be part of a really big, powerful team that was selling lots of homes. And then I sort of learned a lot being on the team. And then in 2016, at the end of the year, I started my own company, Corbin & Co. And now I've got 3 agents that work with me, 4 assistants. And we sell between 60 and 100 homes a year in the Fraser Valley. Do a little bit of stuff in Vancouver.
Nice. And I think you came over to Stonehaus, what was that, 2020?
2020 is when I joined you. It was
That's right. One of the first agents out of the Langley office.
Yeah, we had a great month planned, I think, for the launch. Wasn't it right at March 2020? I think it was.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, actually. It was you and a bunch of other big hitters. I think 5 or 6 of you guys that came on, and all of a sudden, within a year, we had about 100 agents at that office. They're like, just Corbin's exploded. There? I'm there. Sign me up.
That was awesome, yeah.
Awesome. Well, obviously, you've had a chance to see a couple of our other podcasts, but generally speaking, I just want to ask you some questions about your personal business, like what you recommend to kind of help realtors out, but also we have a lot of actual buyers and sellers. So any of the tips that they can handle in this crazy market that we're in right now, it always helps.
Yeah, sure. Well, what we're finding now in our business, I'm sure a lot of people are seeing the same thing, is the market obviously for the last 9 months has been going down. So you've got a lot of buyers who've been waiting when the best time is to buy, a lot of sellers waiting for the best time to sell. And my advice has been, right now, for example, anybody that is upsizing, so someone who's selling their home and buying a home that's more expensive, or someone who's a first-time home buyer, those are the 2 clientele that we're finding are winning by huge margins. So give you an example. We had a client in Elgin, South Surrey, who was selling a condo in South Surrey for about $600,000. It had gone down $100,000 roughly since 2022, the peak. Right. But the home that they purchased had gone down $800,000. Wow! In that same time. So for that person who's buying something that's selling something that's like $700,000 or $800,000, they've lost maybe $100,000. They've saved $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. And to give another example, detached homes in pretty much every area in the Fraser Valley are down. I think 220 to 450,000 since March 22. So if you're a buyer and you're selling something that's gone down 30 or 40 or 50K because it's a condo, you're coming out huge if you're upsizing right now.
Yeah. And just to give our viewers a preface, if you don't know what Corbin's really into, he's like an OCD numbers freak in a positive way.
This is true.
So I've never met anybody, and we're going to talk a little bit about your business side for realtors as well. But if you walk into any of Corbin's offices, the one at your house or the one in the actual Stonehaus, it's like walking into NASA's launch control center. You got 100 screens, numbers, everything.
It looks like a spaceship in there.
Yeah, exactly. It should really be, your name should be Corbin Systems Chivers, because it's it really is what you know well. And you've actually, and we're going to talk about your business, and what you've you've not a 180, but you've really shifted how you do your business and where you market and so on and so forth. But it's always really been based on facts and numbers, right? You are a numbers guy.
We and that's what we do for our clients a lot too. Is we I just did my market monthly update yesterday, so I go through all the different areas of the market to update my clients. And right now, it's an interesting time to update your clients, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, prices have come down, like I said, 9 months in a row. December is the highest December inventory in the Fraser Valley we've ever seen.
Wow.
So inventory came down in December, being a slow month, but this December is the highest inventory number of homes on the market in the entire Fraser Valley ever in 21 years. So to your question before about, what advice am I giving? Upsizers are winning all day long. That's the clientele that they're high-fiving us after every transaction. They're making off so great. And then first-time home buyers right now, for the last, 10 years, probably 8 of them, buyers have had to compete in multiple offers, not have inspections, not have any conditions of their offer.
Yeah.
And while they might have sold their home if they had a home to sell faster to buy something in a competitive market, first-time home buyers now can buy a home with no competition, with all the due diligence, with proper time to vet the homes. So those 2 categories right now, my advice is anyone sitting on the sidelines, I'd be considering as a buyer, and anybody upsizing I would consider, but the downsizers are the people that were having the opposite time.
Right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. We actually had Mike on the podcast from Best Coast Inspections, and I asked him, like, what are majority of your clients right now? And he said a ton of them right now are first-time home buyers.
Wow.
So it's funny from that perspective. Even the inspections that he's doing, you're knocking out of the park. It's nice to see the similarities in what's happening there. Okay, so let's talk about how you grew your business. So obviously, your background prior to selling homes, what were you doing then?
Well, prior to selling homes, my other life was in health and fitness. So I worked at 2 different gyms for 9 years. I was at Fitness World in Langley for almost 9 years actually. So yeah, that was my business before. I was the general manager of the club. So we had about 65 staff that I managed. We had about 1,000 workouts a day sometimes. It was a very high volume, high interaction, high sales, all commission, all bonus based type of job, which totally set me up, prepared for real estate in a pretty big way.
And so as I mentioned at the very beginning, like you had bus benches, you had like ads at the gyms, like you couldn't go anywhere without seeing your face, back in like the 2020, 2021 era.
That's right.
Obviously prior to that. And I know because we have lots of conversations, you've kind of shifted that. What have you shifted to, and why have you kind of decided to like try something a little bit different?
Yeah, well, you're right. So I'm a big fan of marketing. I like to market. I like to put my face everywhere they let me. And when I first got in the business, it seemed to me pretty apparent that you want to get your face out there. You want to get your name out there. You want to be, well and widely seen, because that's how you get business. And the more people you know, the more people might consider you and be top of mind to want to buy or sell. So when I first started, I wanted to put my face on everything, and I had no budget. So I put it on my car because that was the cheapest thing. You do it once, and I still have my face on my car. So number 1, I would recommend that for any agent. But number 2, I did start doing bus shelters and bus bench ads. So, just big ads with my face all over it. It's plastered, free, no obligation home evaluation. And what we did is we kind of farmed a commercial area. So I basically picked and chose a part of Langley where I used to work, by the gym, of course. And I had had the bus shelters in front of the gym. I had that on the TVs at the gym. So we marketed, probably had about 45 pieces of marketing out there at one point with the shelters and the bus ads. Now, that was great when the market was ripping and the volume of transactions was so high that the margins made sense to spend that fixed cost advertisement every month.
Do you mind saying how much roughly that cost?
Probably in the neighborhood about 15 grand, 18 grand.
Just for the bus benches.
Just for the bus benches and
a month.
A month, yeah. Yeah, and then the gyms on top of that, the TVs and the pubs and all the rest of it was probably over $20,000 for sure per month. So, I mean, it was a substantial cost. However, it was a huge win in terms of the credibility, the clout, the ability to close, every appointment I went to in the area was, I see your face everywhere. And it was huge. And then you asked me what I've shifted to, I guess, right?
Yeah,
so back to that. So the reason why I had all those bus shelters and bus benches, it was really, really profitable. It made tons of sense to get your face out there in that way. And despite the big cost, it was very profitable.
Yeah.
And we had that until about 2023, 2024. And then, as you know, the market has the whole pie of transactions has shrank so much that for those reasons, you could do a lot of things that worked before. And now if you're making half the money, they don't work anymore.
Yeah.
So that's when I went and I decided to go more online, more social media.
Yeah. So before we dive into that, because that's obviously huge, and the one thing that I absolutely, well, there's a lot of things I love about you, but for on your business aspect that I feel like it is like when I do my coaching and so on and so forth, like I use you as an example all of the time because of this, is that, for example, the $25,000 a month you're spending on bus benches and ads and so on and so forth. I know a lot of it, not a lot, because there's not a lot that I can afford that. They don't do that kind of volume, but I know a few, let's just say, that had similar expenditures, some even as high as $150,000 a month, right? But they really just like, oh, the business just came in, and it was kind of like they didn't know their numbers, right? If you walk into your NASA center at your place, like you will see exactly where, like every one of your clients, you know, where they came from roughly, like you asked them the questions. So you knew what the bus benches were producing as far as like rate of return,
100%.
what your emails were producing as far as rate of return. Like I know you did, even back then you were running a lot of Meta ads and Facebook ads and Google ads and so on and so forth. So you knew your numbers. And I think the important thing to note is that most agents, like and actually, let me ask you this because I'm just kind of guessing it. Have you always treated real estate as a business? Like, did you take that from the general manager kind of mindset that you had to run that business financials and then
100%.
put that into real estate?
100%. When I worked at the gym as a general manager, they basically trained you at Fitness World to operate like you own the gym. So you're looking at profit, margins, wages, all the different categories of profit, membership sales, monthly payments, percentage of upsales of which supplement, which protein bar got the most, which SKU was selling. So you had to kind of be the master of everything. And then you had about 65 staff who were all trained to sell on commission, and you're responsible for the club. So the systems that they gave us were incredible. We had, you could see how many members came per hour, which location, which club was the best. And 3 times a day, 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 10 o'clock at the gym, you had the 1, 5, 10 report. Owner calls you up, you got to know your numbers. 1 o'clock, They say, hey, Corb, what are the numbers? And you have to know how many memberships, how many people came in your club. And that was how I was trained for 10 years, just about. Wow. So when I went into real estate, the first thing I did was I basically exported all of my, leads of people from all of my social media into spreadsheets, into the ability to have like a mock CRM and to contact people. Right. And I operated like a business. So I started tracking expenses immediately because I started spending money that I didn't have. And I was like, wow, better start tracking stuff. With the bus shelters and bus ads, that was done very methodically and strategically with a lot of, foresight, which areas we wanted to farm because it was super expensive. So knowing the numbers on that was definitely important.
And kind of like to add to that, because it is like an eye opener. Like I would say, well, I would ask you, because you know a lot of realtors as well. What percentage of realtors do you feel treat real estate as just like a sales job? Like I'm trying to find my next deal versus a business?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'd say probably most of them. When you look at senior agents, I'd say, that's anyone over maybe 10 years, that's different. But even a lot of people I talk to, like double the length of time I've been in the business will share with me how they just kind of get clients and they just kind of do their thing. And you ask them how they made their money. And the reality is they've been in the business a long time. They've done a lot of transactions. They've done a good job. And those people have referred them business over time. Because if you're any good at your job in real estate, you should be getting referrals. So these people, when they explain their businesses to me, of course, it doesn't make any sense because I'm like, well, how did you, be a realtor for 20 years? So I think a lot of people get there slowly and over time and by doing the right things. But the people that I talk to who get there quick, they execute. I mean, like yourself, the people who are winning in real estate within year 1, year 2, they have systems, they have procedures, they've got, a process of and treat like a business versus a sales job.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy that you say that. So obviously over the last 8 years I've had the brokerage, I've probably coached over 1,000 agents during that time period. And I can say like without hesitation that 95 to 98% of agents do not have a business plan, or even if they do, they create a business plan and then they don't follow it, they don't execute it. And more importantly, like I would even say the number is 99% of agents don't track. And the reality is like if you don't track, you have no idea what's happening with your business, right? And I think it's funny because we just launched a soft launch a few months ago, my coaching program. It's mainly for American realtors. Well, it's for everybody, but majority of my clients are American realtors, and majority of them are own brokerages or are team leaders, right? So, because it is an expensive program that And so one of the things that I do when I onboard these agents onto the coaching program, there's a 76 question business MRI that I get them to answer, right?
Wow.
And it is insane. Like my average client is doing $500,000 plus a year USD, well, because it's obviously American, in commissions, right? So that would be definitely a top 1% agent in most markets.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Definitely. And the crazy thing is, I would say, it's not the 99 percentile, but I would say probably 70, 80% of them, when I send them this thing, they're like, hey, Sean, just so you know, your questionnaire was worth the first 5,000 USD that I'm paying you, because it made them realize like, holy shit, I'm not tracking any of this. Like, I don't know any of my numbers. It's not a business. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the biggest takeaways I've had, like being friends with you and working with you over the years, is seeing it actually in action. A lot of people talk about, I have systems, I have this, but no, Corbin legit has systems. Like NASA is jealous of your systems without a doubt. Let's kind of dive in, because I know you did prospecting as well, right? So obviously, I was big into cold calling, online leads, and so on and so forth. You didn't do as much of the cold calling stuff, or none of it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But you were big into like DMing and following through Facebook and stuff like that, right?
Huge into that.
Yeah. Can you talk about that? Because I feel like, and sorry to interrupt, but I think the main reason why I want to bring this out for agents that don't understand is prospecting is prospecting. Like talking to somebody about buying or selling real estate, or just following up or whatever, is prospecting. It can be text messages, it can be phone, it can be DMs. Most people are scared of the phone at the beginning, right? Yeah. And it's a fear I tell everybody to kind of conquer. But like, I think DMing is an amazing way to get into it. Can you talk about a little bit how you did that?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the first things that we did when I first started the business, joined my friend Chris. He'd be more experienced than me. We're trying to find ways to prospect. What do we do? And previous to the real estate thing, when I was at the gym, I was in charge of posting all the time on social media. This is 2014. So Facebook was like the number one. And we were used to posting big events and videos and pictures and promotional stuff. And we'd always get engagement. And we'd try to sign members up at the gym, lose 20 pounds in 20 days with a picture of an apple or someone's waist with a measuring tape. And I was really excited about advertising. So I was like, well, buy a home with me, click here. I thought that might do it. So what ended up working wasn't the paid ads that we tried, but it was just basically going on social media the same way that when I was at the gym, I was constantly posting, promoting the gym myself, talking about fitness, to the point where everybody knew me as the fitness guy.
Yeah.
I want a membership, call Corbin. I want to buy supplements, call Corbin. And all those types of things were really good. But then as soon as I joined real estate, I was like, what do I do with this? So for me, the low-hanging fruit was to pursue those same people and make them aware that now I'm a realtor. So first thing I did in 2014 is I sent out a message, a DM, like you're talking about, to 100 of my top contacts. And those people were not people who said they want to buy or sell, but these are people who I thought, hey, they like me, they know me, they trust me. I want to be in their sphere to be a potential realtor when they do buy or sell. And I was understanding people buy and sell every so many years. So it seemed to me like a pretty good idea. So I started off small, just DMing some people. And then almost immediately, a lot of positive feedback. Oh, congrats, you're a realtor now. Actually, I might be wanting to buy or sell. And it started off slow, but the prospecting, back to the point, is when you're on Facebook, or today you're on Instagram or you're on TikTok, and you're messaging someone, you have infinite levels of building rapport with them. So if I'm your friend, we haven't talked for a while, and I want to say, hey, Sean, are you going to buy or sell with me? Yeah. It might be easy to say, well, I'll go on your Instagram. I'll see, oh, Sean's a hunter. And if I know anything about hunting, I could say, hey, man, that was a great elk you got there last week, bro. And we could start a conversation that's contextual, based on something you've done, focused on you. And people like to respond about that stuff if they're your friend. So I started those conversations with people, just literally touching base about what's going on in their lives, looking at their social media. But I didn't do it willy-nilly. I did it systematically with a spreadsheet. So I knew every week or every 2 weeks I was contacting people, knowing that if I was at least in their sphere over time, I'd probably be considered as an option. And I was. So yeah, social media, just the very starting 2014 days, it was all Facebook. It was all messaging, DMing, posting, going on community pages. So going on local pages that are like for different cities, and then going on there and sharing some information and some value and being a contributor. So all those things were huge. And I think probably a third of my business when I first started was from social media.
Can you tell us like how did your first 3, 4, 5 or whatever years go? Like how was year one versus so on and so forth?
Year one was a bit of a grind. So I started in July 2014, so halfway through the year pretty much. And that year I did 9 deals in those 6 months. So I did some transaction, which was great.
Yeah.
And I felt it was extremely hard. I remember working all day trying to show people homes. Like you'd have 3 or 4 tours in a week, and all of them turned into nothing, and all the clients were flakes. And if they could do an offer, they weren't pre-approved. And if they were pre-approved, they didn't get the inspection. So there was a lot of trials and tribulations for sure. My first 6 months. I think if I could give any advice, I would share that joining a team that was super busy, super successful, let me experience in 6 months what a lot of people experience in like 3 years, because that team again was a 100 to 300 deal a year team.
Yeah.
So my first year was nothing crazy. It was just those. I think I made 26 grand on my splits in that first year.
Yeah.
My second year, however, I learned so much in those first 6 months. I was able to about halfway through that second year. So it took me about a year, to be fair, before I started being profitable. And I think I did 25 deals my second year.
Wow.
But it was my third year that really broke out. So I feel like with anybody, it takes time doing anything in any direction to start to get traction. But in year 3, I think it was 65 sales.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then the next year was 85 sales, and it sort of averaged between about 85 and 125 up until a couple of years ago.
So quick question for you, and not to get into too personal of like how teams are split, but I think a lot of people think too when they join a team they're just going to be handed, here, take this client, and in some cases that happens here and there. Don't get me wrong, but those deals that you're talking about, those were clients you prospected. Those were clients 100%. That you went. So it wasn't Chris's deals or something like that.
I had 2 transactions that were referred to me by the team lead at the time.
Yeah.
And dear friend of mine now, and I was joined his team, and that was my partner's older brother. And everything was basically his mentality was, I'm just going to teach you how to fish. I won't even give you one fish until you kind of do your own thing. Yeah. And I remember thinking that was pretty harsh, but it was honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened. I mean, right off the bat, I was met with no handouts. You are what you get, what you eat, and you better work hard, because that sort of almost desperation at the end, at a certain point, just pushed me to work harder than I've ever worked before.
Well, and it's funny too that you mentioned that, like, this market is even kind of like that in a bit. Like if you're starting in this market as a realtor and you make it through, which to be real, in the first, I think it's 3 years or 2 years, it's an 80 something percent attrition rate. So
wow,
83 or 85% of realtors don't make it within the first 2 or 3 years. Right. So everybody thinks it's this big cash cow, easy business. But as you mentioned, even when the big cash goes out, you're putting out big cash. You're spending $250,000 a year or more, 300 grand a year on bus
just
benches
putting your face
alone,
out
right?
there.
So to kind of like switch past here. So now you really went from, and actually I'm going to kind of go back to that a little bit, because I really like the fact that you went after the gym crowd and so on and so forth first, because that's kind of like your avatar, your group of the people that you know well, that you're around. And we've talked about this probably on every single podcast, that almost every single successful realtor I know, even though you did kind of a bit of the blanket as far as like, call Corbin kind of thing, or Corbin and Co, like type of stuff everywhere, right? Who you actually prospected and spent additional time after going after were very much people that love you, know you, trust you, and you guys have similar interests, hobbies, so on and so forth. So you have something to relate. Like you said, when you texted them or DM them, you're talking about stuff that you both have something in interest.
And even on top of that, one of the other things I did, Sean, was when I first got my license and I was still a member at that gym, I managed to get back there when the owner wasn't going to be in town. And my other friend, who was the general manager taking my place, she allowed me to be part of an event. So I had about 200 water bottles that all said McSold Realty on them, my team at the time. And I was at the front with my partner, Chris. We handed out 200 water bottles, towels. And then what I used to do is go there on a very regular basis, dressed in my suit, dressed in slick, dressed in like, oh, he's a busy realtor. So I'd come in on purpose, bring my laptop, go to the juice bar, spend an hour at the juice bar, hanging out on my phone, on my computer, doing some work, hoping that I would get the conversations like, oh, what are you doing here? You don't work in your office, and what's going on? So I could say, well, I'm glad you asked, actually. I'm a realtor now. Yeah. And it was a good theory, and it actually worked 100%. I thought about it. We did it. I started going to the gym, spotting people, talking to people. I had cards in my hand all the time. And it worked. I mean, I had so much a business come from the gym, and I still do. I mean, I to this day, 11 years later, some months I have like 3 or 4 gym friends that we do business like
Are you still DMing people?
all the time. Now I don't so much. I'm just responding because what I do is through the social media now we can get into that. I'm posting a lot more, which is getting a lot more conversations started. Incoming, which has kind of been the goal for some time, and now we're seeing traction that way, which has been a total change.
Yeah. It's funny. So a couple weeks ago, my buddy's like, real estate, man, it's just like, what is it, Glenn Ross or whatever the movie is, like always be closing and stuff. I'm like,
ABC.
Yeah.
Always be closing.
Coffees for closers. Great movie. But it's funny. They're like, oh, is that what real estate like? And I'm like, no, man, the best movie to relate real estate is Bloodsport. And A, because you're all in, all out, right? And B, it is a contact sport. And I cannot say this enough to everybody. And I don't mean contact as far as you're getting beaten up, obviously, but the agents that win are the agents that talk to the most amount of people, that have the most contacts. And if you can narrow down your time to the contacts that are like you do, right? The rate of return is absolutely like magnified 1,000x.
100% agree with that.
All right. So as we kind of mentioned originally, and you still, as you mentioned now, DM, but it's mainly based on responses. So that's kind of like a perfect segue into this shift that you went from like, okay, instead of spending $25,000 a month on bus benches, you still have some, but
actually I canceled the last one maybe a few months ago.
Oh, really?
They asked me because it was going to be at the base of one of the towers in Langley. They're like, you don't want that. In 5 years, there's going to be 400 people living 5 feet from your face.
Yeah.
Almost had me.
Almost sold. But now you post one video and get 10,000 people looking at your face, right? So you transitioned basically almost 100% then to the social media aspect, right? And honestly, you once again gone after an avatar, a specific group of people, slightly controversial to some would say, but you know, I always say like, this is my saying in life. And obviously as the owner of a brokerage, I kind of have to mediate some of the things because there's all types of people that we work with, right? But the reality is if you try to appease everyone, you appease no one, right? So you've gone after a specific demographic. You're very, very genuine to who you are, is fact that like you're giving out facts and so on and so forth. There's a lot of comedy in there as well. There's some funny, you have some amazing posts. Tell us about like the change, I know you and I sat down and you had an entire game plan, entire business sect. Like you knew exactly how you were going to do this. You studied, like, tell us about from like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, the concept, to now where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're so right. First off, yeah, I mean, social media, that was the big shift. And of course, it's not new. I've been on social media since before I was in real estate. Right. But previous to the last 2 years, I would say, all the posts I would do in terms of real estate posts, mostly static images, mostly pictures, very little video content. I wasn't going on film. I wasn't recording myself. I had 100 reasons not to make a video. I had 200 reasons why I didn't need to do this. And then all of a sudden I started to notice and see all the successful realtors that we both know make that transition into video. And all of a sudden they're just, you know, a realtor that you might know, to all of a sudden they've got a podcast and they're getting attention and interest. And to see the virality of these people go on social media, it's undeniable. It's one of the quickest ways, if you're good at it, to get attention. So when I started to see that, I was hooked. I was like, how do we reverse engineer? And so what I did is I went to a coaching session in Arizona last year. I went to Jeff Glover. Very similar to Tom Ferry, very similar sort of ideas with social media. And he had a whole 3-day thing where it was focused on promoting yourself. And I went to all the social media courses, every single one of them. And what I gathered from that, what I learned was that the top realtors could be top realtors in new markets and new states within a year by moving there completely fresh, cold, no leads, no referrals, no previous clients, and do 25 deals in a state they never lived in simply because they were good at social media. So immediately I started to look at the top names in our industry locally. So one of the tactics I used was R&D. rip off and duplicate. I started to see what people were doing. They were doing topical movie or videos. They were doing video tours. They were doing all kinds of tips to sell your home. And so my journey to figure out what to do was more or so like you talked about finding your avatar. Yeah. I started to look at the videos that made sense for me. And I realized that I didn't really want to do home tours. I figured, gosh, that's going to be exhausting in a week. Yeah. And it wasn't my deal. I mean, some people are fantastic at it. I didn't feel like I would be. And then I saw people sharing their opinions on stuff. I saw people doing opinion-based pieces on social and 30-second clips on the market plus government, the market, government, politics, and having this huge following. And then I would see them also post content about real estate specific. And then I'd also see them post content about actually working with them. And it was kind of like 3 parts of the funnel. So the top of their funnel was a big, broad appeal, huge viral post, lots of views. And then their second part of the funnel was like, I'm the expert at real estate. And then the third part of their video content was like, and by the way, I'm a realtor in Chilliwack and call me to list your home. And so I started to see these people go viral with that. And then I started to duplicate those videos. So January, I think of 25 last year is when I got really serious about making videos.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a year. And when I first started making videos, I didn't know what type of content to make. I would just make topical content, short 20-second, 30-second clips on what's going on in real estate. And that would get maybe 500 to 1,000 views. So 500 to 1,000 views. And I felt like, well, gosh, I'm not really getting much engagement, and this is not like bus shelters and bus benches, and it started so small. So my advice for anyone listening is like, okay, social media, everybody starts small. Yeah. No one starts posting and they're getting 1 million views their first time. Yeah. So I started posting, and then I started to work with a coach because I wasn't getting the views I wanted. I got up to about 4,000 or 5,000 views, which I 10x my original, which was pretty good. That was all self-taught, but then from there I got a coach. And again, advice for anybody is in anything. I mean, that's why you do coaching and why it's so powerful is that when you coach agents, you save years of their life, right? That's the whole thing with coaching. When you get to work with someone like you save years. And that's what I did in social media. I worked with someone who had produced like hundreds of people that had like 100K following. So very high level social media person. Yeah. And so I took a course with him and basically had his coaching. And then it educated me on different ways to create my reels so they'd be more engaging, better hooks, better visuals, better pills with the text and all the geeky stuff, right? Yeah. And then I started to see traction getting 10,000 views, 15,000 views. And then I started to realize that a lot of the people that were viewing it were also engaging. They were clients, they were previous clients, they were friends, and they would turn into DMs asking about the post. And they were all real estate tangential or real estate posts. So that was huge. And I think the watching videos go from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 different powers, like 10x what the last video was. The potential is a lot more fun, exciting than saying, oh, I'll do one more bus bench. I'll knock one more door. I'll call one more person. It was like, well, if I get this video to pop, I'm going to get like 1 million views. Yeah. And then I started getting 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 views on dozens of videos where I'm talking on camera. Yeah. So those have led into transactions, conversations that have led into relationships, that have led into future business. And that's kind of where the focus has shifted for me is that's free completely. It costs $0. It's your time, it's your effort, it's your energy. And the viewership and attention you get from that, you can absolutely compare it to attention you would get from a bus shelter, which you're paying the $500 for one shelter.
And the reality is, and I tell people this, especially like on certain, like maybe on an Instagram, because it's global or so and so forth. It's a little bit different, but I know you have a couple of these like meme hilarious ones that you have like 4 or 5 million views.
35 million. I have
135 million.
Okay, so Sean, I have 120 million views on home comparisons, more than any other realtor I think in North America.
Crazy.
And the home comparison videos I started was actually it was like December of I think it was December of 2024 maybe. And what I did is I saw someone else make a home comparison video, and I'm really good at seeing something and systemizing it. Yeah. We talked about that before. So I saw one realtor attempt to compare New York to Dubai. Yeah. And a tip for anyone listening, if you're trying to rip off and duplicate, get the heck out of Vancouver. Search New York, search Vancouver. Search New York, search LA, search Florida. Search the biggest American cities on their top agents, the slickest ones who have the best content. And you can pretty much just know that that's probably a good North Star, and you're not ripping off anybody locally. So what was I was getting to, forgot my,
You had the one
yes,
with the 120
sorry,
million
thank you. The home comparison. So I did one home comparison meme based on a home in Calgary
Yeah.
that I saw that was listed for $4 million by Brad McCallum, I think is the realtor in Calgary, a big agent out there. And then I saw a home that was listed for $4 million in Vancouver. So I picked, my strategy was pick two areas that are very different in price, different politically, different in every divisive way, where people are going to say, well, holy crap, look at this house versus this house, because I thought that would be engaging for people. And I was right. And that first one I made got 13 million views. Probably gave like 400 or 500 followers, and I had all these comments. It was impossible to keep up with.
Yeah.
And then I started to do the same exact thing, just going with a very systematic criteria, picking Vancouver typically, always, versus typically a place where there's better value, whether it be in Alberta, whether it be in the States,
Texas,
and Texas, and just basically bring attention to the frustrations I think all of us have living here, where you can't buy anything nice for cheap, and the rest of North America, most of it, if you're not in a big city, you can't. So those for me just prove one thing. It proved that a piece of content. I got 35 million on the Florida comparison.
Wow.
One piece, and I still get views every single day in it. I get comments 7 days a week, and this is 2 years later. It's 35 million views, I guess, is just such a number that one more person is not that much to get, I suppose.
But the crazy thing is, and this is kind of where I was going with that, is like, I have a friend of mine, and he averages on his YouTube probably no more than 1,000 views or something like that. But especially on YouTube, when they're 10, 15-minute videos, like that's 1,000 people that have spent 10 minutes watching you, listening to you, understanding you. You know what I mean? Like that is better than any bus bench that somebody just drives by. Like 100%. They spent 10 minutes like listening to your commentary on whatever this thing is, right? So you're literally picking up, for lack of a better word, adoring fans or people that are very much like you and agree with you, or you're picking up complete haters, which is great for the algorithm still anyways, right? But it's interesting to see that, like, you hear this all the time. It's like, oh, who's your favorite YouTube guy or who's your whatever? Like people feel like they know these people because they listen to they spent sometimes hundreds of hours watching. Like when I'm bored at home, I'll watch like Sam Sulik or whatever, right? And he's like 45 minutes of just doing biceps and he's in his car. This guy's got like, I don't know, 5-10 million viewers or subscribers or something like that. It's just insane.
Wow.
But I feel like if I meet that guy, like I'm like, I know everything about you. You know what I mean? Because you post it all on there, right? So there's this familiarity and this like intimacy when it comes to social media versus just the bus ad that you just can't replace.
Totally.
So now you have a lot of these DMs coming in from this. You've made this complete shift from, more conventional bus stops or whatever in the crazy markets to now you're saving 25 grand a month. And obviously you're putting a bit of the money back into the social media side for sure. I mean, equipment alone, like we were talking about it before, there's probably 10 grand or more in cameras in front of us right now, right?
Yeah, I just invested into the equipment to do long form YouTube. That's sort of the next kind of final piece of moving into that stuff. But like you said, I mean, that short form opinion piece content for 30 seconds to a minute where I'll go off about the market, about politics, about economy or something like that, and share it personally, conversation like I would normally talk to someone. Yeah, that stuff, when I talk to people who are clients after who reach out, they haven't just watched that one video. They've watched a lot of them, and there is that extra rapport, and it's very powerful. And that's just on the short form side. So like you're talking about, once you have those long form pieces of content out there, I'm the same as you. I consume stuff all the time, and I do feel like I know these people. I know enough. If you watch 30 episodes of somebody.
Well, you think about it, 30 episodes at 10 minutes a piece. That's 300 minutes you've spent of your life watching this person.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? It's crazy. You obviously understand and know them, right? So that's kind of where I was getting into next is. So your next piece of the puzzle is going to be long form. That's what you're
yeah. So I basically started, what I do right now is I do once a week, I'll do twice a week sometimes. I'll do 30 to 60 second piece of content. That's me on camera, usually talking about something. I'll have a green screen. I'll talk about an event or something happening in the market. And those get, anywhere between, 10,000 and maybe like 100,000 views right now. And I'm getting a lot of engagement. It's been great. But I know the piece of moving to that long form, like we're talking about going to 10-minute episodes where a lot of our favorite YouTubers, including real estate YouTubers, really make their name and gain that attention and that, notoriety for a lot of people, and you become top of mind for so many people at that point. And what I've seen is a lot of realtors, local Vancouver, go from short form to long form and just crush it. And all of a sudden they've got, like you even shared earlier, adoring fans, people that already feel like they know them. This person's the expert. They're already calling to choose you because they already know they're going to work with you because they've spent how many hours watching your content.
Well, and like over the years, the people I've been coached by like Patrick Bet-David, Grant Cardone, Tom Ferry, like all these guys, they've, when I've sat down with them in sessions or Zoom or whatever it is like these guys grew theirs. Like the crazy thing is, and the number might be off, but it's something ridiculous like this. Like Grant Cardone off one post raised, and this was a little bit better market, but still raised over $100 million off one social media post for like a buy-in to whatever buildings he was buying. So it is crazy the power once you build that relationship, that rapport, that trust, because you're saying what you're supposed to be saying and you're resonating with them. It is night and day difference. And the other thing, like one of the things, I'm not sure if you're doing this right now or not, but one of the biggest questions I get asked by agents is like, oh, I have a great conversation with somebody, past client, whatever the scenario is. Like, how do I follow up with them? I don't just want to be like that typical realtor with, hey, just calling to check in, because it seems like you're just like asking for something, right? Social media is such a powerful tool to follow up, like, because all you do is you friend them on Facebook or get them to follow you on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. And every post you put out there is a follow-up, right? Is contacting them once again, right?
That's it.
And have you noticed, like, do you continuously, like, I know you maxed out on your Facebook and you had to like get rid of.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
sure.
Like, yeah, no, follow-up is probably the best. I mean, absolutely. I mean, anyone who's a possible lead, we have a CRM that automatically Googles them, Facebooks them. We'll add them. I always add them. I always try to add them. Yeah. And the first thing when you're on my mailing list, the email you get within a day is, how can I follow you? And it sends them my socials. And then I check to see if they followed me so I can follow them. And then we get in each other's feed and then they get an automatic response. Thanks for following me. And then we try to start a conversation.
So it's funny, like we just implemented this. So it's pretty new to us, but I've been coached this through actually Patrick Bet-David and a couple others. Wow. And I thought it was absolutely genius. So, in the past, we all do like, before physical newsletters that you would send out via mail, and then obviously email newsletters, and a lot of people send out stats like Snap stats and stuff like that. All great. I mean, it's all forms of follow-up, but what better way to follow up than sending? So for example, myself, so I have 1 million realtors in my coaching database throughout the United States. Wow. It's pretty crazy. One of my friends provided it to me. So we send out an email every month, and it's basically just going over like the top tips, and it's a YouTube video of me and it will be posted videos in the future, but right now they've been hidden videos or whatever you call them.
Right, so they're embedded. They show up. The email's really friendly. You click it. It's you on camera talking to them.
And it's basically just, it's a whole coaching session, right? It's about me going over whatever, like building a system out or whatever the scenario is. And it's crazy, like the actual open rates and watches of these videos are astronomically higher than just like the Snap stats were like a 2% open rate or 3%. Wow. Like, and not to knock it, it's still something. They see your name when it pops up, even if it's whatever, video. Right? But the video, and then on top of that, once again, you're selling yourself and whatever your service is during that. And what I've done now, even with my team, is each team member has their specific avatar and niche, right? So as you know, I'm big outdoorsman, hunter, whatever. And majority of my personal clientele, they're all, my avatar is basically outdoorsman, hunter, blue collar, usually a professional like lawyer or something like that, or they own a construction company, like an entrepreneur, something along those lines. And so now I have a specific email that goes out just to that group in my database, my CRM. And I put the video that's relating, and it'll just, a lot of times it's entertainment value. Like, so I'll be like, the top 5 hunting homes for sale in BC right now, or properties or guide outfit or whatever. So people, even if they're not looking to buy right now, they want to watch this, right? But even like my signature is different on it. Like it's like more geared towards that. The stuff that I put on it's more geared towards that. And the reality is, next to the video, even the video, a lot of the concepts and stuff I get off ChatGPT. I'm using AI to kind of figure out what I do. The content, all the stuff that I put as far as in there, you know, I tell ChatGPT what I'm trying to go over. It watches my video and summarizes a lot of it, puts it in there. And like that list is a lot smaller. There's maybe 500 people on that list, right? Because it's more personal towards that specific avatar. But I have like a 70% open rate on that, which is insane. Like that never happens, right? And it's just because it's once again following up, using social media, using videos, and people are looking forward to watching these videos, right?
That's incredible.
So I do that. I have that for the developers. I have that for my coaching company. So I'm niching down these emails because in the CRM, all you have to do is, you know, categorize each in different labels, different categories.
Totally.
Select and press send, and it's done. You know what I mean? And I got to film 4 videos a month.
Aren't you happy you set your CRM up? I mean, right?
And the funny thing is, I've probably gone through like 5 different CRMs. And I tell everybody like a CRM is a CRM. Like don't get me wrong. Some of the better ones are better. There's cooler features and stuff like that. But the reality is just 90+% of people
doesn't work unless you do, unless somebody on your team does at least.
Exactly. Right. So tell me, like, can you go over, before we kind of wrap it up, because there's so much information you've already gone over here. Can you go over like, what does your day-to-day look like now that you've kind of transferred, other than obviously dealing with clients and so on and so forth?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so my day-to-day, you know, since obviously before not making the video content, that was something I had to, and I think anyone listening is thinking, well, gosh, I want to make video too, but I'm too busy, or there's always something that comes up or whatever it is. So my day-to-day, well, first of all, I set up my office to be able to film anytime. I think that's very important. So my day-to-day, I have to make it so I can just jump on film anytime without having any barriers. So my day-to-day is wake up, usually prospecting, getting back to clients, number one. I think most of us, you know, you hit what are the low-hanging fruit? What's the most urgent items? Delegate, you know, reprioritize, get organized. So a lot of my mornings spent on the calendar. And then after that, typically it's at home on the computer or at the office on the computer for several hours, working on the listing side with all my systems up. So, you know, to your point about, you know, how to manage your time properly. So we have Monday.com is how we manage our listings. So I'm checking my listings. I'm using Google Calendar to check all the top things of the day. We have a CRM that alerts me to all the activity from all the recent leads. So we've got a lot of systems to give me information. I use WhatsApp group chat to manage all my clients. So we've got 250 group chats on a vertical monitor where it's all dialed in and everyone gets color-coded icons based if they're a buyer, seller, buyer, and seller. The team's in all of those at certain capacities based on how they operate. So I've got a lot of things happening on automatic. I've got 2 client care managers who work opposite shifts. They manage all the clients. I've got an operations manager who does all the paperwork, all the office stuff, all the mortgage brokers, paperwork, conforming to policy, all that stuff's taken care of. All I do is listings, try to sell listings, listing appointments, typically every day now, negotiations, book more appointments, prospect. I've outsourced every other part of the business. So all I do is prospect, try to sell. I'll even take the team door knocking and do other prospecting activities lately because we're, you know, all hands on deck right now. Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest thing in this market with the pie being so much smaller for transactions. You have to grow not the same pace. You have to double, triple, quadruple your growth if you expect to even maintain the same numbers you had the year before.
Yeah. So to that point, actually, there's two things I wanted to talk about. A, if you're an agent, let's just say does 20, 30 deals a year, something like that. So a good agent, top 10% plus.
Yeah, great agent.
Especially,
this year, 35 is probably top 1%.
Top 1%. So the growth, a lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, Sean, I want to start a team, right? And I won't say my first, but you kind of gave it away on a lot of the stuff that what you do. What would be your first step if you're like, okay, I'm just too busy. I don't have, maybe my systems aren't working or whatever the scenario is. What would be your first step if Corbin was doing 40 deals a year by himself, no admin staff, no nothing? What would be the first hire? What would be your first go?
Well, if I'm doing 40 deals a year, that means you're making a revenue GCI of probably anywhere. If you're by yourself, you know, you're making 400,000 probably. I mean, that's a lot of money. You've got the resources at that point to easily afford an in-house assistant. So if you're thinking about first hire, it should always be an assistant, in my personal opinion.
I was going to say the exact same thing, but it's good to hear from you.
There's no other way to carve it. I mean, in the business, you got high value activities and you got low value activities. Everything has to get done. But for Sean, to you, to be there, pushing paperwork all day, that's not the best use of your time. So I think this is where you separate a lot of people who are business people and salespeople, right? Yeah. I mean, if you want to be successful in this business long term, I don't see an equation with your sanity intact to be successful by yourself. I just don't think it exists. You'll be burnt out and dead before you reach enough money to say you're successful. Yeah. So if you have an assistant, I think for me, I would say if you're making $100,000 a year, you should immediately consider whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's one of those local companies that work out of Vancouver. I don't have the names of them, but they will take care of all of your paperwork. They conform to all the standards of our province, and they'll do it for half the wage of a full-time employee. Yeah. And then better than that is to get the full-time employee. So I think if you're making 40 deals a year, get yourself a darn assistant. Yeah. And then that assistant, you should basically have a list made before you hire them, in my strong opinion, of everything you do in the business. And you start to make a list of what you're going to offshoot to the assistant. So CRMs, I know CMAs, like doing home evaluations, you probably keep that to yourself because that's important. High value. If you get the wrong number, you don't get the listing. But things like doing the paperwork, things like sending the contracts, all your DocuSigns, every piece of admin work, every piece of office work, any conformity, any rules, regulations, paperwork, all of that could be done by somebody other than yourself. Yeah. So as soon as you realize that, there's zero reason to do it because you can pay a good fair wage for someone to do that and treat it properly. And then you can go bring in that revenue. So I would say assistant would be my first hire by far.
Yeah. And I 150 million% agree.
I know you don't like paperwork, Sean.
Yeah, I hate it. Well, and the reality is like I've been coached this from the very beginning. Literally when I started real estate in 2013, the first thing I was coached from one of the coaching events that I went to is like, listen, like if your goal is to make $100 an hour or $1,000 an hour or whatever the scenario is, what are the activities that are going to pay you that 100,000, whatever it is an hour, right? And if you're doing an activity, i.e. about to send out postcards or set up a post or do some of the paperwork, like if you can pay somebody $20 to $40 an hour to do it, and you're trying to make 100 to 200, like literally, if you're doing it yourself, it's costing you $100 to $200 an hour.
It's that opportunity cost that people don't measure and weight, and they have no. You have to weight that opportunity cost, and that's what it is. I think in our business, there's so many things you could do. Yeah. A paralysis by analysis. Do I call someone? Do I DM someone? Do I prospect? And what's easier? None of that. We're doing your paperwork's easier. What do people gravitate towards? The easy stuff. So
Sorry. And one of the things that you mentioned that I think is like a gold nugget, like if you're looking to hire anybody, I think you nailed it. Or even if you're looking to add your first team member, right? I coached an agent and he is a successful agent. And he came to me, he's like, Sean, I want to build these teams. But he's like, basically all of these agents I'm hiring, they're lazy. They don't do what I do. They can't replace me. They can't whatever, right? And he's like, he literally ends up having these agents for a couple months and then canning them, right? And they're basically like, they're useless, more or less, right? So I asked him, I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, I get it. And obviously the reality is not everybody's going to have the same work ethic, so on and so forth, as everybody else. But I asked him a very simple question. When you hired these, can you show me what your standard operating procedure was? Can you show me what you required of them? Can you show me the things that they failed on? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, the reality is then you hired this person to be on their team. You were upset that they weren't answering calls at 9 p.m., but you never told them they have to answer calls at 9 p.m. You never told them that they're expected to do this. You never told them to. And the fact that you literally said, like, before you hire an assistant or variants of an assistant or any of those things, right, you need to 100% make sure they know exactly what they're doing, what they're expected to do, right? Like what the role of the job is. When we hire conveyancers for the brokerage or any other role, right, there's an entire job description, right? But it's funny how realtors, when they hire on teams or there's no job descriptions, there's no expectations, there's no anything. So I told them straight up, I'm like, obviously these guys aren't going to be doing what you do because they were never told what they need to do. There was never a clear understanding. And maybe when you're going through the recruiting process of bringing this agent on, if you told them, they would have said, there's no way in hell I'm doing that, right? Then you would have saved your time. Or they would say, yes, I'm willing to do that. And at least now you could hold them to a certain standard, right? So totally. The fact that you have these systems in place is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been, it's been very good and healthy as we grow the team to have more roles. And even now, I mean, I'm not perfect, but I've been doing those sorts of things. Even just this recent year, I updated the job descriptions because it is important to feel clear about what you're doing and know what those expectations are, or else how do you hold somebody accountable for anything?
Well, and that's exactly it. Like for any of our teams, we basically make them sign contracts that this is what you're doing, this is how you do it, etc. So we can hold, and honestly, in that contract, it's holding me accountable too for what I promise I'm going to be delivering.
That's
to this
right.
team,
And you got to hold up your end of the bargain, or else you can't expect someone else to work hard for you.
Exactly. Okay. Before we end it, because that's we're running out of time here. Is there anything else you wanted to tell the rest of the world, realtors, clients, whatever, that you wanted to leave with?
I would just tell realtors here, you know what, that last year was tough for a lot of us. I mean, I talk to realtors all the time, and I've had some heart-to-hearts with a lot of realtors in the last week who are a little bit beat up from last year. So my advice would be, you know, you're only one deal away, one call away, one activity away, one prospecting round away from finding that whale, from finding that one client that leads into the referral, the next client, and the momentum. And there's so much that you can do. And the leverage of today with AI, social media, is insane. Become the expert at social media, become the expert at AI, get a coach for both if you want to, spend the money yesterday, do it today, and you'll be rewarded heavily. And I think if you're tenacious this year, if you go after it, if you really leverage AI, you really leverage social media, you gotta have the discipline, the work ethic. But if you do those things this year, I think the capabilities or the opportunities, the biggest it's ever been.
Yeah.
You can turn from, doing 10, 20 deals to 100 if you just know how to strike the right balance between prospecting, getting your social media on tact, using AI to leverage all those activities that you're not good at, hiring the assistant maybe you haven't hired, and today you decide to finally hire one. Yeah. And people are the biggest source of leverage. You're one realtor. If you're a big team, you're one realtor away from finding the rock star that's going to totally change the trajectory of your team. So I would just say this is a year to be a little more optimistic, a little bit more positive. Last year was rough for a lot of us at the business. And I think my advice for anyone listening is just, think about the opportunity this year, get rid of the noise, and just wash away last year, because I think this year for a lot of agents who really take advantage could be their best year.
And so I'm going to leave off with this one thing, because I think this is important to note about Corbin too, is that Corbin started social media basically a year and a half ago, give or take, right?
Yeah, we started posting the videos and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, because we were talking about videos for probably the last 3 years, right? And Corbin's exact words to me were, I hate being on camera. I hate videos. I don't want to do any of those things, right?
No, never did.
Yeah, hated it. And the reality is he executed and did it. And from your ears, and you can check his social media, which I highly recommend you do. He's now
give me a follow.
Give him a follow. Now because he overcame that fear, just like you have to overcome calling and DMing and talking. The successful people like Corbin overcome that fear, execute anyways, understand your first 20 videos are going to suck. They're not going to be the best. It is what it is. And now he's got 120 million views, videos with 30 million plus on them, or more than 120 million, whatever it is, ridiculous amounts. And he has literally shifted his business 180 from having billboards everywhere to now being and working on growing a social media empire within real estate and so on and so forth. So execution is key. Overcome that fear, and you too can be a Corbin. All right, guys, that's got everything for this podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Like, subscribe, do all those other things that you can, and make sure you follow Corbin. What's your
call Corbin team?
Call Corbin team. All right, guys. Till next time. See you on the next one.